I've talked, and I'm not going to repeat, I've talked a lot about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and its two cousins, National Public Radio and PBS. The United States taxpayers spend $500 million a year subsidizing these media organizations. I've talked about that. There was a time when maybe we needed to do that, back in the 40s and the 50s, when we only had 3 TV stations and a handful of radio stations. It might have been necessary for the government to get in the TV and radio business, particularly to help our citizens in rural areas, but those days are gone.
Hey friends, welcome back to Hot News Today. Hit that subscribe button. We break down the stories that matter. Today, we're diving into a hot topic. Why is the federal government still funding media giants like NPR and PBS? Senator John Kennedy says it's time to pull the plug on taxpayer-funded media. Let's get into it.
Now there are all kinds of forms of media. We've got TV, newspapers, radios, we've got the internet, we've got Facebook, we've got blogs, we've got podcasts, we've got cable TV, we've got streaming TV. But yet, the government continues to spend $500 million a year to subsidize the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Every year, the U.S. government sends $500 million to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. That money trickles down to NPR, PBS, and local stations, but it's 2025. We've got thousands of streaming platforms, blogs, podcasts, social media, YouTube. So why are we still footing the bill for this?
President Trump's talked about it. Many members of Congress have talked about it. I've talked about it on the floor of the Senate. Now, some of my colleagues say the reason it ought to stop is because the so-called journalism being published by NPR and PBS, which get their money from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which gets its money from you, out of your pocket, $500 million a year. Some of my colleagues said, well, we ought to stop it because the reporting is biased. And they've marshaled a persuasive argument to that effect.
Let's talk content. Here are just a few of the headlines from these taxpayer-funded outlets: how racism became a marketing tool for country music, democracy on trial, a blueprint for the case against Trump, and Christian nationalism strongest in rural conservative states. These aren't news articles, they're opinion pieces. And yes, they have every right to say it, but not with your money. This isn't public service broadcasting, it's narrative pushing. Let's zoom in on Louisiana, Senator Kennedy's home state. It has 318 radio stations, only 10 get federal dollars. Out of 48 TV stations, just 8 receive funding. The feds are picking winners and losers in the media space. It's not about the content, it's about the principle. This isn't just about whether the content leans left or right. The real issue is principle. We are sitting on a $36 trillion national debt. That's trillion with a T. Even if these stations did need help, it shouldn't come from taxpayers. Hey, if you're with me and believe in fairness, free speech, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button and tap the bell icon. We're just getting started.
I mean, I've talked about some of the articles that have appeared paid for with the American people's tax dollars. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll just mention a couple. Here's one: how racism became a marketing tool for country music. That's pretty fair and balanced, huh? Here's another one: the hidden racism of young white Americans. AP fact check: Trump seeds race animus with COVID falsehood. Here's another one: Biden trumpets economic gains but struggles to get credit.
First Amendment doesn't mean fund my views. We all believe in the First Amendment. Free speech is essential, but it doesn't mean using government money to push your views. Publish, vlog, blog, build an audience. But don't expect the federal government to bankroll your message.
They don't need it. And even if they did need it, they shouldn't get the money to the exclusion of every other media organization. What happened to treating all people and all entities similarly situated similarly. And so that's why I support abolishing the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I want to say it again. The people who wrote these articles and the people who published these articles have every right to do that. I mean, I'm a firm believer in the First Amendment. Without the First Amendment, how are we supposed to know who the idiots are? I support the First Amendment. And these folks have the right to publish that. But they do not have the right to publish it with taxpayer money.
Conclusion. Strong, impactful wrap-up. It's time for Congress to do the right thing. Abolish the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. End taxpayer funding for any media outlet. Let the free market of ideas decide. Let the American people choose, not federal bureaucrats. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay bold, and I'll see you in the next video.